Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take some foundational sources and really give you the core insights, the shortcut, if you will. Today we're tackling something truly profound. It's a deep dive into the Dakshinamurthy Stotram. Now, this is just 10 verses long, but it's packed. It's essentially the entire teaching of Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual philosophy from Adi Shankaracharya, all crystallized.
It really is an incredible piece of, well, compression. You look at all the Advaita texts, and it can feel overwhelming, right?
Absolutely.
But the Dakshinamurthy Stotram, it works like a master summary. It covers the big ideas, Brahman, the ultimate reality, Atma, the true self, and it does it using these really rich metaphors, this beautiful poetry. So our mission today really is to unpack those key symbols. We want to show how this short text can bring, surprising clarity to concepts that often seem very complex, very abstract.
And we've got some great sources to help us do that. It shows this knowledge has a long, continuous history. We're drawing on traditional commentaries, like a detailed Telugu one by Badulapalli Manikesastri from 72.
Wow. Classic.
And also more modern teachings, like those from Swami Tadamananda Saraswati, which are maybe a bit more accessible for some. So this range gives us confidence we're looking at a living tradition, not just some dusty old text. Okay, so before we jump straight into the philosophy, which is, let's be honest, pretty high-level stuff. Let's ground this a bit. Let's talk about the people who actually championed this text, who kept its study alive. Because sometimes you think these things only survive in monasteries, right? But our sources highlight this really fascinating figure. They call him the industrial Vedantan.
Yes. Sri Kautha Suryanarayana Rao. His story is, well, it's a perfect example of how spiritual life isn't just for renunciates. It's not separate from the world. His life showed dedication in both areas, the worldly and the sacred. He started out very humbly, a school teacher earning just, I think it was Rs. $7 a month back then.
Wow, tiny.
Tiny. But through hard work, skill, he became a major industrialist in South India, founded India Commerce and Industries, Kautha Products, big names.
Okay, so a classic success story. But what makes him a Vedantan in that context? Just being successful?
No, it's what he did with that success. That's the key. He didn't just hoard the wealth. He saw it more like a responsibility. The records show he gave away something like 80% of his earnings. Over 80%.
80%? That's huge.
It is. He put it into the Swadharma Swarja Sangha, an organization he set up back in 1930. And its whole purpose was religious, educational, charitable work specifically focused on preserving and promoting Bharatiya culture. He apparently saw his business success almost as a thank you gift to Lord Sri Krishna.
I completely reframes it. It wasn't just about profit. The profit served a higher purpose for him.
Exactly. And the goal wasn't just vague culture. The aim was very specific. Nitya Niradasyananda, eternal, unsurpassed bliss. That was the point of the culture he wanted to preserve. And he was practical about it. He used his organizational skills to set up these annual Vidvat Sabhas assemblies of scholars.
Academic conferences.
Sort of, but much more rigorous, perhaps. These were places where really difficult Advaita texts, like the Khandana Khandakabya, which is notoriously complex, were introduced and debated in incredible detail, using the traditional method of Vakyartha, very precise, line-by-line, scholarly argument.
So he wasn't just funding rituals, he was funding the deep intellectual work needed to keep this knowledge sharp and alive. It really highlights this idea that true wealth, maybe what they call spiritual vidyanampada, isn't separate from worldly success. It's about using that success. It's a powerful idea for you listening, that discipline in the material world can actually fuel the quest for, ultimate spiritual freedom.
Right. So with that context, let's turn to the main figure of the Stotram itself, Dakshinamurthy, the teacher. Before we even get to what he teaches, we need to understand his name, because the name itself, it kind of sets up the whole philosophy. There are layers to it.
Yeah, I saw there were two main interpretations, and both suggest this immense authority. Let's start with the directional one.
Okay, the first is quite literal, Dakshinamurthy. It means the form, Murthy, facing south, Dakshina. Now, why south? Traditionally, south is associated with Yama, the god of death. It represents time, mortality, the cycle of things ending.
Okay, so facing death.
Facing it and mastering it. By facing south, Dakshinamurthy is showing symbolically that he has conquered time itself. He's Mridunjayaha, the conqueror of death. He's showing he stands above samsara, that whole cycle of birth, death, rebirth that traps us. His posture is a statement, I am beyond time.
That's incredibly powerful. If he's beaten mortality, he's definitely qualified to teach us how to escape it. What about the second meaning? It seems more philosophical.
Yes, it's a bit more subtle. You split the word differently. Dakshinamurthy. Here, Dakshina means skillful or expert, really adept. And Amurti means formless, without attributes, nirvikara.
Ah, okay. Skillful in formlessness.
Exactly. He is the ultimate expert in communicating the Nirguna Brahman, the absolute reality that has no form, no qualities, no limitations. Since Brahman, by its very nature, is beyond description, beyond form, well, communicating that takes supreme skill. That's his special expertise.
But wait, that raises a question. If the ultimate reality is formless, why does he have a form at all? Why this statue, this image with all the details?
Precisely because we, the students, are caught up in form. We relate to the world through forms. So the idol, the murti, it acts like a visual textbook, a map made manifest. He's described as Ashta Murti Brit. That means the one who bears 8 aspects or forms. His body literally contains the whole cosmos.
8 aspects. Let's break those down, because it seems key to the Advaita view that the universe isn't separate from the divine source.
Right. You shouldn't trace the 5 basic elements. Earth, that's represented by the solidity of the idol itself, the murti.
Right.
Water, symbolized by the river Ganga flowing in his dreadlocks. Fire, he often holds a flame in one hand.
Makes sense.
Air, that's more subtle, implied maybe by the posture, the sense of space around him. And then space itself, represented by the Damaru drum.
The drum represents space. How?
Because sound, which the drum creates, needs space to travel. Sound is seen as the quality of space, akasha.
Ah, got it. So 5 elements. What are the other 3?
The 2 great lights, the markers of time, the sun, the master of the day and the moon, the cool rayed one, and then the crucial 8th, Puman or Jiva, consciousness itself, the living being, you, me.
So looking at his form is like looking at the entire universe. The elements, time, and consciousness all unified in one being.
Exactly. It's a meditation on the unity of the macrocosm and the microcosm, which is our own consciousness. And seeing that unity instantly dissolves the common idea of 3 separate gods for creation, preservation, destruction.
How so?
Well, look at the symbols he holds. The Damaru drum signifies creation, the start of cosmic cycles, the kalpas. The fire signifies destruction, change, the end of cycles. Everything in between, his very presence, is sustenance, preservation. So Brahma, creation, Vishnu, preservation, Shiva, destruction. They aren't separate beings. They're just 3 functions, 3 aspects of the one Ishvara that Dakshinamurthy embodies.
That's a radically unifying vision. Now, what about the little guy under his foot? The demon, Apasmara.
Right, Apasmara. He represents Ajnanam, ignorance, forgetfulness, delusion. And it's really important how he's shown. He's not just some weakling being crushed. Our sources point out he's usually depicted as armed, maybe with a knife or a club.
And ignorance.
Yes, it's a crucial warning. Ignorance isn't just a passive lack of knowledge. It's an active, powerful force. It fights back. It wants to keep us deluded, keep us suffering. It takes the direct, firm pressure of the guru's knowledge, symbolized by that foot pinning him down, to overcome it. It's a serious adversary.
Okay, this leads us perfectly into the next section, which holds maybe the biggest paradox of all in the Stotram. We get to the Dhyana Shlokas, the verses for meditation, and they tell us Dakshinamurthy teaches the highest truth through silence. The picture described is just weird. The text says Vichitram, strange.
It is. It's designed to make you stop and think. The verse describes Yuva Guru Vrida Sishya, a young guru surrounded by old disciples.
Right, that's the first puzzle. Young teacher, old student.
Exactly. Why is the guru young? Because the knowledge he represents, the truth of Advaita, is nitya. It's eternal, timeless, ever fresh. It never ages.
Okay, that makes sense for the knowledge. Why are the disciples old?
They are vrida, aged, wise. They've spent lifetimes, presumably, gathering experience, reflecting, cultivating viveka, discrimination. They've finally reached the necessary maturity, the ripeness. They have pivra mumukshadvam, this intense, burning desire for liberation that makes them ready to receive this ultimate truth.
So it suggests you need life experience, that disillusionment maybe, before you're truly ready for the final teaching. It's not just about reading books.
Precisely. But then comes the method. Mouna Vyakhyana. Silence is his explanation. How on earth can silence clear up doubts? The verse says it does, effortlessly. Sisyastu china samsaya.
Yeah, that's the core paradox. How does silence teach?
Because the silence isn't just nothing. It's not dead air. It's pointing Lakshana to the fact that the ultimate reality, Parabrahma, is beyond words. It's ineffable. Like the Upanishads say, that from which words turn back, unable to reach. Language works by defining, limiting, comparing. Brahman is limitless, non-dual. So anywhere you use automatically misses the mark.
So the silence is like the neti-neti teaching, not this, not this. It points by excluding definitions.
Exactly. It's a way of directing the mind beyond all possible concepts. But that's not the whole story. The students' doubts are cleared instantly.
So what fills the gap left by words? How does the actual understanding happen?
Through the nonverbal completion,
Yeah.
the chinmudra, the hand gesture. This isn't just some ritual posture. It's the entire philosophy visualized. We really need to slow down and break this gesture down piece by piece.
Okay, let's do it. Walk us through the chin mudra. What do the fingers mean?
Okay, look at the hand. You have 3 fingers, typically held straight. The middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky. These 3 represent everything that limits us, everything we wrongly identify with. You can think of them as the Sharira Trayam, the 3 bodies, gross physical body, subtle mental energetic body, and the causal body of deep ignorance. Or you can see them as the 3 states of experience we cycle through: waking, dream, and deep sleep. These 3 are the realm of Krisha. Everything that changes, decays, is impermanent.
So those 3 are basically me, as I usually experience myself, trapped in limitations. What about the index finger and thumb?
They are the key players. The index finger represents the Jivatma, the individual self, the limited consciousness, the sense of I that feels separate and bound.
Okay, the individual I.
And the thumb stands apart. It represents Paramatma or Brahman, the ultimate, limitless, unchanging reality, the Satyam, the truth.
Got it. Thumb is the absolute, index finger is me. So what's the teaching in the gesture?
It happens in 2 steps, inseparable. First step, discrimination, Atman, Atmaviveka.
Separating self from non-self.
Exactly. This is shown by the index finger moving away from those 3 limiting fingers. It's the intellectual act of realizing, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not my experiences, I am the witness of these things.
That sounds like the core practice of Advaita self-inquiry.
Yeah.
Constantly asking, who am I? And discarding the answers, not this, not this.
It is. You observe your thoughts, feelings, sensations, and realize you are the observer, distinct from the observed. That separation from the 3 fingers is that discrimination. That's the initial step towards freedom.
Okay, so step 1 is separation. What's step 2? The union.
Step 2 is the ultimate revelation, aikyam, non-separateness. The index finger, now conceptually free from the limitations, bends down and touches the thumb. They form a perfect circle. That circle symbolizes fullness, completeness, purnamedam, purnameda. That is whole, this is whole. It signifies the realization that the Jivatma, the individual self, index finger, once understood correctly, is not actually separate from Paramatma, the absolute reality thumb. The individual, stripped of illusions, is the absolute.
So the gesture non-verbally communicates that thou art. Tat Tvam Asi.
Precisely. That's why the silence works. The truth isn't poured into the ears like information. It's recognized by the mind that has been prepared by that first step of discrimination. The gesture seals the deal, so to speak.
Wow, that's incredibly elegant. And the text says the guru delivers this profound teaching with a specific feeling. Mudita Vadanam, a blissful face, and Svatma Ramam, reveling in his own self.
Yes, that smile is important. It's not smugness. It's the look of profound compassion and understanding. The guru knows the student is suffering intensely, but he also knows that suffering is based entirely on ajnanam, on ignorance, on a misunderstanding. It's like seeing someone terrified of a rope they mistake for a snake in the dark.
Yeah.
The guru knows, if only they had light, the fear would vanish instantly. His bliss comes from knowing the student's true nature is already free, already blissful, and that this ignorance, while powerful, can be removed by knowledge. The problem isn't as intractable as the student thinks.
Okay, we have the teacher, Dakshinamurthy, and his unique method, silence, plus the chin mudra. Now let's get into the actual content of the verses. The first 4 are said to contain the essence, breaking down that great statement, the Mouna Vyakhyana, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art.
Exactly. They unpack it piece by piece. Verse 1 tackles the tuvam pada, the thou part, the individual self as we currently experience it. And Shankara uses 2 brilliant analogies here. He says the world is like a city seen in a mirror, or like the contents of a dream.
Okay, let's unpack those. A city in a mirror.
Yeah.
It looks real, it's detailed, but it's just a reflection, right? It has no independent existence apart from the mirror.
Precisely. And crucially, the verse says this world, which seems outside us, Bahiriva, is actually projected from within ourselves, Nijantargatam, like a dream, Sapapnaiva. It appears external, but its source is internal, powered by Maya, ignorance.
This connects to that radical idea you mentioned earlier, Drishti Srushti Vada.
Yes, exactly. The doctrine that creation, Srushti, happens concurrently with perception, Drishti. Normally we think, world exists, then I see it. This flips it. The world arises in your experience because you perceive it. It doesn't have an independent reality outside of consciousness.
Like a dream world vanishing when the dreamer wakes up.
Perfect analogy. Upon spiritual awakening, prabodha samaya, the verse says, the entire perceived world resolves back into the non-dual Atman. The Atman is the screen, the adhistanam or support, upon which the world movie is projected.
That's a huge shift in perspective. It means liberation isn't about fixing the external world, but about understanding the projector, understanding oneself.
It puts the focus entirely inward. Then verse 2 moves to the other side of the equation, the Tat Pada, that is Shamara, the cosmic source of this projection. Here the metaphor tatas. Creation is described as unfolding like a sprout on Krura, emerging from within a seed, bijasya antaiva.
The sprout from the seed. What philosophical principles is that illustrating?
It's illustrating Sat-Karyavada, the idea that the effect, karya, pre-exists within the cause, sat. Nothing truly new is ever created.
So the universe wasn't made from nothing.
Correct. It's the unmanifest Brahman becoming manifest, the potential within the seed becoming the actual sprout. Brahman is both the intelligence behind it, the intelligent cause, the know-how, the will, and the raw material, the material cause, the substance of the universe itself.
Wait a second. If Brahman is the material cause, the stuff of the universe, doesn't that mean Brahman gets modified? Doesn't it get caught up in the suffering and change inherent in the universe?
Yeah.
That sounds less than absolute.
That's a critical point, and it's addressed by the next analogy in the verse. Ishvara is compared to a magician, Mayaviva, or a great yogi, Mahayogi.
How does that help?
Think about a magician creating illusions. He might conjure fire or water, but he doesn't get burned or wet by his own illusion, does he? He remains separate, untouched, more real than the illusion he projects.
Okay, I see.
Similarly, Ishvara projects the universe through his power of Maya by mere will or desire, svecha sankalpa, but remains utterly unaffected by it. The suffering, the change, it's real for the jiva, the individual caught within the illusion. But the source, Ishvara or Brahman, remains the pure, transcendent support, the adhistanam.
That distinction is vital. Okay, so verse 1 defined the thou, the apparently bound individual. Verse 2 defined the that, the transcendent source. Verse 3 must be the connection, the art, the asipada.
This is it, the payoff. Aikyam, the statement of identity. This verse brings it together, the recognition that the formless pure existence, sat, which is paramatma, is fundamentally one and the same as the formless pure consciousness, chit, which is the jivatma.
And the guru delivers this understanding through the Vedic words, right? Shabda pramanam.
Yes, the teaching Tat Tvam Asi comes via the authoritative scripture conveyed by the guru, but hearing the words isn't enough.
It has to click internally.
Right. It leads to aparoksha janam, direct, immediate, non-mediated knowledge. It's not inference. It's like seeing something plainly for yourself. And this direct knowledge is what cuts the root of the delusion, the feeling of being bound. The result, na punar avatir bhavanam punidhau, no more return to this ocean of birth and death. Because you realize you were never truly in it in the first place. Your real nature was always free.
Okay, that's the core identity. Then verse 4 seems to elaborate on the nature of this consciousness, using light.
Yes, this verse makes consciousness incredibly practical, almost tangible. Shankara uses this wonderful image, a large lamp, Mahadeepa, placed inside a clay pot, Gata, that has many holes, Nanachitra.
What's the pot and what are the holes?
The pot is the physical body, the holes are the sense organs, eyes, ears, nose, etc. And the bright lamp inside, that's consciousness, Chaitanyam.
And the key point is the lamp shines by itself, right? Samam Prakasha Atma.
Exactly. Self-luminous. It doesn't need another light to be seen. It doesn't need proof. It just is. And the light of this consciousness streams out through the senses, the holes in the pot. That outflowing light is what illuminates the objects of the world, making them knowable to us. Everything out there, etat samastam jagat, the entire world, it shines after consciousness, anubhati. It borrows its light, its knowability from the self.
Like the moon reflecting the sun's light.
Perfect analogy. The moon seems bright, but its light is entirely borrowed. Objects seem real and knowable, but only because the light of consciousness falls upon them.
So the profound insight here for you, the listener, is that you don't need some special meditation technique to find Atma, to find consciousness.
Not at all.
It's a very light by which you're searching. It's present in every single act of knowing. If you could say, I know X, the I that knows is the Atma, the self-evident light.
That's it. The problem isn't that the light is hidden. The problem is we're looking at the reflections and forgetting the source. We're caught up in the objects, unaware of the light that makes them appear. That unawareness, that ignorance, is what we tackle next.
Right. So if the Atma is self-evident, always shining, why the suffering? Why aren't we all enlightened? Because, as you said, we're blocked by Mahavyamoha, this intense, pervasive delusion. And this delusion comes from constantly identifying the real I with things that are not I. Verse 5 tackles this head on. Verse 5. This looks like Shankaracharya taking on all the other philosophical schools. He's refuting the false ideas about the self put forward by the Vedanta vehement arguers. Right?
Exactly. He lists the common mistakes. Some say the I, aham, is the physical body to him. Those are the Charvakas, the materialists. Others say no, it's the life force, the pranam. Others, the senses, indriyani. Then he addresses, likely, the Yogacara Buddhists who argue the self is just the fleeting intellect, chalambuddhi, a stream of momentary thoughts.
Constantly changing.
Constantly changing, yes. And finally, he refutes the nihilists who claim the ultimate reality is just void, shunyam, nothingness.
It's a real philosophical smackdown.
Yeah.
Shankar doesn't just say they're wrong, he suggests why they're wrong. Their intellects are somehow deficient.
Yes, that's a sharp point he makes. He identifies 4 types of deficient intellects that lead to these errors. There's Stri, not meaning women literally, but an intellect dominated by emotion, attachment, unable to be objective.
Okay.
Then Bala, the immature intellect, undeveloped, not ready for subtlety. Then Anda, the blind intellect, meaning one not guided by the eye of scripture, the Shastra Chakshu. And finally, Jada, the dull or inert intellect, simply unable to grasp these finer points.
So the implication is that overcoming Maya, this powerful delusion, requires a very sharp, mature, disciplined mind, guided by the teachings of the Guru. It's not for the intellectually lazy or emotionally entangled.
That's certainly the implication. Now let's dig into one of those errors specifically, because it's a tempting one, especially when people experience deep meditation or quiet states. The idea of shunyavada, that the ultimate is nothingness. Verse 6 tackles this using deep sleep.
Right. The nihilists point to deep sleep, sushupti, and say, see, everything disappears, thoughts, world, self. It must all dissolve into nothing. How does Vedanta counter that?
Vedanta says, wait a minute, deep sleep isn't nothingness. It's actually pure, undifferentiated existence and matra. It feels like nothing only because the mind and senses are switched off, veiled by the most fundamental power of Maya, the Avarna Shakti, the veiling power.
So the self is still there, just covered up, like hidden. How can we prove that?
The verse uses a great analogy. The self in deep sleep is like the sun or moon during an eclipse. Rahu grasta divakar indisotochapumen.
The sun doesn't cease to exist during an eclipse.
Exactly. It's still there. Its light is just temporarily blocked from our view, unavailable for usual business. The proof that the self persisted through deep sleep comes when we wake up. It's the power of pratibhijnaya recognition.
What do we recognize?
We wake up and say, I slept well, or I knew nothing. That statement contains the proof.
The I.
The I. If the I had truly become nothing, who is remembering the experience of restful nothingness? Who is making that claim? The knower, the I, must have continued through the state of no objects, experiencing that restful state. Even though the experience itself was veiled, that continuity shatters the void argument.
That makes perfect sense. And this idea of continuity, of the unchanging I, that leads straight into verse 7, doesn't it?
It does. Verse 7 hammers this home. It asserts that the true self, svatma, is constantly, continuously shining within us. Aham, ameti, I am. It's this background hum of existence consciousness, and this core I amness is anavartamanam. It persists invariant through everything. Think about your own life. The I that you are now is the same fundamental I that experienced childhood, youth, maybe middle age, old age.
Yeah, the body changes completely. The thoughts, beliefs, memories change.
Yeah.
But the sense of being me feels continuous.
Right. And it persists through waking, dreaming, and as we just saw, even deep sleep. The states change, the content changes, but the witnessing consciousness, the fundamental I, does not.
So the whole spiritual task then is to clearly separate this absolute, unchanging, attributeless I, the amit, from the temporary changing, attributed self, the ahamkara, the ego that says, I am this body, I am this job, I am happy, I am sad.
That is precisely the goal. The ahamkara is the I identified with fleeting attributes. The ayam is the pure subject, the background awareness itself. The teaching, delivered by the guru with that auspicious gesture, Bhadraya Mudraya, the Chinmudra, aims to make us directly recognize that eternal, continuous ayam beneath all the noise. That recognition is freedom.
Okay, so when someone achieves that recognition, when they become a brahmajani, a knower of Brahman, how does their view of the world actually change? Do relationships, cause and effect, all just disappear for them?
Not disappear, exactly, but they are seen differently. Verses 8 and 9 describe this as the vision of oneness, sarvatmatmam. The Janani looks at the world, looks at all the relationships we navigate, father-son, teacher-disciple, owner-own, cause-effect, and they don't see them as fundamentally separate realities anymore. They see them as vilasa, as play, as manifestations, as projections of the one single non-dual self, the self which is a sangasakshi, the unattached witness.
So it's like the individual self caught up in roles, sasanga jivaha,
Yeah.
is just the absolute unattached witness, asanga sakshi, playing a part, like an actor wearing different costumes.
That's a very good way to put it. They understand that father and son are roles necessary for the play of life, but the underlying actor, the consciousness, is one and the same. This removes the sting of ultimate separation, the feeling of being fundamentally limited by these roles.
Verse 9 seems to zoom back out to the cosmic level, echoing the iconography we talked about earlier.
Yes, it reinforces the point. The entire eightfold universe, Ashtamurti, all the elements, sun, moon, consciousness, everything movable and immovable is nothing but the body of the Lord. And for those who truly reflect, Vimarshatam, the conclusion is stark and absolute. Nanyat kinchit nasti. There's nothing else whatsoever besides that all-pervading supreme being. The world isn't something other than Brahman that needs to be rejected. It is Brahman, appearing as multiplicity. Seeing that is realization.
This vision of total oneness is incredibly profound. So this brings us to the final verse, verse 10, the payoff question for anyone listening.
Yeah.
What's the benefit? What's the phala shruti of actually studying this, reflecting on it, trying to live it?
Well, first, verse 10 emphasizes it takes work. It lists the necessary steps. Shravana, systematic listening and study under a qualified teacher. Manana, deep reflection, using reason to clear up all intellectual doubts. Nididhyasana, sustained contemplation, assimilating the truth until it becomes your lived reality. And even Sankirtana, reciting, sharing, teaching the knowledge which reinforces it.
So it's a whole process, not just a quick read.
Definitely not. Only after outlining this effort does the verse talk about the results. And this is where that bait and switch idea comes in.
Right, you mentioned that earlier. What's the bait?
The bait, aimed at those still motivated by worldly desires, is the promise of spectacular gains. The verse mentions attaining the eightfold psychic powers, the Ashtasiddhis, things like becoming infinitely small, anima, infinitely large, mahima, controlling elements, etc., and also achieving Ishvaratvam lordship, mastery, power over the world.
Okay, that's some serious bait. Control over reality, psychic powers?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want that?
Exactly. It gets people in the door, so to speak.
Yeah.
But then comes the switch, the real fruit, the ultimate attainment.
Wait a second.
It's sarvat matva mahabhibhuti syat. The greatest glory, mahabhibhuti, is realizing the state of being the self of all, sarvat matva.
Ah, so not external power, but internal realization.
Precisely. This translates into kaivalyam, absolute oneness, the non-dual transcendent state. The real lordship, swamitvam, isn't controlling others, but achieving perfect equanimity and mastery over your own internal state, over the pairs of opposites, pleasure-pain, gain-loss, praise-blame, birth-death. The jnani attains jivan mukti liberation while living. They are free now. They aren't tossed around by life circumstances because they know their true identity is the untouched witness, the unchanging reality behind it all. That's the real treasure.
Wow, that really was a deep dive. From a silent teacher's gesture to the vision of cosmic oneness, it covers so much ground in just 10 verses. We've seen how silence can hold the deepest meaning and how the ultimate truth of who you are isn't some distant goal, but it's actually self-evident right here, right now, if we just learn how to look.
I think the essential lesson, really, is that the only thing obscuring our natural state of limitless joy of Ananda is this virus of ajnanam, ignorance. It's the failure to recognize that continuous, unchanging self we talked about. In texts like the Stotram, they offer the precise intellectual tools needed to remove that ignorance, to reveal the freedom that was always already there.
So if we take that core idea from verse 7 seriously, that your true self, the pure I am, is continuous, anivrittamanam, unchanged through childhood, adulthood, old age, waking, dream, sleep. This leaves you, the listener, with a really provocative thought to explore on your own. What exactly is the ahankara? That voice in your head, the ego, the attributed self that is constantly telling you, I am incomplete, I need this, I'm changing, I'm suffering. If your deepest reality is already whole, perfect, and unchanging, where does that persistent feeling of lack or limitation actually come from? And more importantly, what might happen if you truly fully assimilated the possibility that your most fundamental state, pure, attributeless, witnessing existence, isn't something to achieve, but is already present, right now, always. What shifts when you stop searching and start recognizing?